Stephanie Chung, your go-to for all things marketing, mindset, and manifestation. I grew my online business from 0 to beyond 6 figures in 8 months. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most aligned versions of themselves. If you are ready to take charge of your life, learn how to design a wildly successful business, and leave limiting beliefs behind, you've come to the right place. You will learn the actionable tips and step-by-step strategies on money, manifestation, and social media. It's time to step into your role as boss, to raise your vibration, and tap into your unlimited potential today. Welcome to the Social Reset Podcast. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm excited to talk to you all today about truth-telling, sovereign leadership, and how that gets us to the 10x in our lives, in our businesses, revenue, and identity from the inside out, right? This is not something that takes place from our external circumstances and external reality. This is something that we create from who we're being, who we're becoming, who we're stepping into, our identity, our truth, our soul. And that is really the basis of how my business grew. This is the basis of how my business has continued to grow and compound and expand and 10x over and over and over, right? It isn't just about $0 to $1 million in sales revenue and that being the 10x. I have created multiple 10x's, like millions of 10x's all the way through in these past 4 years and the past decade and my entire life, because 10xing is not just about revenue. That is a capitalistic way of viewing wins and business goals and revenue, right? Like we get so caught up in the numbers and we get very caught up in like, well, I have to see it in the revenue or it's not happening. But the 10x happens through your fulfillment and through your joy and through the peace that you feel and the emotions that you're in. It isn't about how that reflects in the money, in the revenue all of the time. It is in who you're being, right? I've 10x'd as a mother. I have 10x'd as a human, as a woman. I have 10x'd in my identity. I've 10x'd in my fulfillment. I've 10x'd in the joy that I allow myself to have and the way that I allow myself to feel my feelings and my emotions, right? That is the true 10x. And there are so many ways that we can create that. So when I started my business, and this was years and years ago before I even knew I was starting a business, I just went online. I had a YouTube channel. I had an Instagram page, and I just started talking about, like, I literally, if you want to put it in plain words, I started telling the truth. I started essentially telling the truth about who I was and what I was experiencing and sharing these stories that I wanted other people to know about what I was experiencing. Because when you're dealing with, and this can happen with any situation, when you're dealing with something that feels so big and so scary, you feel like you're the only one going through it, right? And because shame hates having words wrapped around it, shame hates being talked about, we bottle that up and we suppress it. And then we let this shame, essentially like a puppet, run our lives because we're so afraid of people finding out. We're so afraid of being the odd one out. We're so afraid of being the outcast, and then nobody's going to like us or accept us or think that we're worthy anymore, right? And so like also in like caveman days and like the olden days, right? Like when we were still evolving as a species, like if we were kicked out of the tribe, that would mean no shelter, no water, no food, no providings, right? Like we would literally starve and die. So we had to assimilate to be a part of the tribe, or else it would mean death. And so still to this day, even though being an outcast doesn't mean death, most of the time, we still have that same like fear. We still have that. We still come up against those same sensations in our body as if we are about to die, if we do not fit in, right? It's like being the one that's like being pointed at or laughed at, or the person who's being bullied, right? In school. Like I remember when I was in elementary school, I had like these two girls try to turn my friends against me, right? And bring them over to their friend group and make up all these things about me and how like they shouldn't be friends with me anymore. And me feeling so heartbroken about that because I hadn't done anything wrong. And yet these girls were making up these stories about how they shouldn't be friends with me and they should go and join this friend group instead. And me literally feeling like, oh my gosh, it literally feels like fight or flight. It feels like death or survival, right? And so I think that we what's the right word? Associate a lot of these feelings and these fears with the traumas that we've experienced as children and from various parts of our lives, because it feels so big and it feels so scary to be someone who is, you know, an outcast. And so we don't tell the truth and we don't, you know, show up and say the hard thing, because who does that? And who wants to be seen as the crazy person, right? Sometimes the truth will literally, like, yes, it sets you free, but it removes a lot of the things that you feel like you need in your life in order to continue on. Right? Like sometimes telling the truth means that there are going to be certain people or communities or environments that are no longer aligned to you. And so initially that feels like, oh my gosh, I can't possibly do this because all these people are going to turn against me. I just know it. I just know that once I say this thing, they're no longer going to accept me. Right? And that's always a surefire sign that this isn't the community that is aligned to your highest good in the first place. Right? So if I tell the truth, then there are going to be people who will make me an outcast or push me away or decide that they don't want to know me anymore or associate with me anymore, right? And that's the thing about telling the truth, is it automatically weeds out the people who are never meant to be in your life in the first place. I can always tell by like me telling the truth in a relationship how much of a match I was to that person by how they responded to my truth, right? And I remember attempting to come out as queer, as pansexual. At that time, I was just calling it bisexual. I kind of use the words interchangeably sometimes. But I was, you know, attempting to come out, and he was so, almost like angry and defensive and hi, and like just so misunderstanding, like didn't take the time to actually really understand what I was experiencing and my feelings. And I felt so like misunderstood. I felt so like dismissed. I felt so like I didn't feel like he was taking the time to really understand my feelings and emotions and how much this meant to me, right? That I was here, you know, sharing one of my deepest, darkest truths that I think at that point maybe only like one or two people knew I was gay. And I was attempting to come out and just completely did not have the response that I desired. I felt so hurt. I felt so misunderstood. I felt like I felt my heartbeat like racing. I felt like my throat closing up. I felt myself getting defensive, right? And I felt myself wanting to explain myself and over-explain myself, you know, and then at a certain point I was just like, they're not going to understand, you know, they're not going to get it. And that's okay, right? Like that is just proof and confirmation for me that this is not the relationship that I desire to be in. And shortly after, I did leave that relationship and then found out that he was cheating on me, and all of these things kind of came out afterwards. But I had listened to my intuition, and that was one of, you know, the aspects, one of the times where I attempted to tell the truth. And, you know, because I wasn't received in the way I desired to be received, I knew that this person wasn't meant for me. You know, at the same time, you know, thinking about 2 years before that, or around that time, I think actually after that relationship ended, I began my departure from the church, right? I grew up very religious. I grew up going to church every single Sunday. And then as I grew up, I was going to church on Wednesdays, Friday nights, and Sunday mornings. I did youth group groups. I was leading women's circles. I was leading Bible studies. I was essentially like in the process of becoming a discipler. I wanted to be a pastor. I was like really, really deep in the church. I have a lot of religious trauma. And so anyway, I had kind of distanced myself for a little bit. I wasn't really in so much of those programs anymore. But there were so many things I was waking up to, just like true spiritual awakenings, like breaking out of the matrix, like breaking out of these conditionings that I'd spent my entire life believing, right? And then, of course, grappling with my identity and my sexual identity and orientation, you know, after I realized that I was gay, which I've known my entire life, and then realizing like, okay, this is not the place that I want to be. The church is limiting me. The church is restricting me. I'm asking these big questions about existence and God and the universe and consciousness, and nobody's able to answer me, and everyone keeps telling me to go back to the Bible, and everyone keeps telling me to just give it to God, and that's not helpful for me, right? And so that was also the same time that I sought out therapy, which I had done many, many, many times throughout my life, starting from like when I was 16, 17. And just realized like anytime I told the truth, like people are shedding. And I started to come to this realization that like people don't like the truth, but at the same time, there's something about telling the truth that is this like beautiful, kinky, exciting experience that I have, because it is literally the highest frequency that we can be on, right? The highest frequency is love and is truth, because there is nothing more real than the truth. That's why like when we meet someone who's so authentically themselves, even if they do things that you wouldn't, you are like, I love you, because they're so themselves. You can tell that there is no filter. They're not trying to be someone else. You might not even agree with the things that they're doing. You wouldn't do them for yourself, but you're like, I love you, because you see their authenticity. You see them in their original, truest essence. And that is my movement for women of color in business, in entrepreneurship, for us to come home to ourselves. And I honestly believe if every single one of us shows up in our truth, our sovereignty, I call it your truest self. So I do a lot of truest self work inside my mastermind, which is Magic Mind, which is the energetics mastermind for witches and healers and magicians of the industry that want to go beyond the coaching industry. Like they're already beyond the coaching industry. That's the work we do in there, is coming home to your truest self, right? And that is like the basis of my work. And when we come from that place, when we allow ourselves to be embodied in our fullest expression, that is when we're able to do life-changing, life-giving work, right? Like that is when we're able to make an impact, because it's not just like, okay, well, you're at A and I'm going to help you to get to B, and here's the strategy, and okay, have a good day. Right? It's not about that. It's like, well, who are you underneath all of that? Who do you desire to become? Who is your identity, right? Who are you becoming? Who are you stepping into? What is the version of you that you want to bring into this next iteration of self? Right? How are you growing as the whole human, as the entire mind, body, soul, holistic version of yourself, not just compartmentalizing as a CEO, right? We see a lot of this in like industrialism and capitalism, and like corporate America is like, oh, I'm the CEO and I can only be the CEO and I have to compartmentalize as a CEO and I can't dare listen to or talk about my emotions because I have to be logical and forward thinking and practical and linear. Right? But when you are operating as the delusional, emotional CEO, you allow yourself to step into this world where you are led by spirit, you're led by your intuition, you are led by something that is much greater than you. Yes, Cheyenne said, I feel your energy and excitement. Yes, like this lights me up so much. And I know it does for you too. And I think that's the most important aspect. It's like, you know, I scroll on Reels and I try not to spend too much time scrolling on social media. But, you know, sometimes I'm looking for real audios and I just get sucked into the hole. And I'm seeing this trend, at least recently, let me know if you've been seeing the same, of these accounts that are faceless. like these faceless marketing accounts, right? And this is not to throw shade at anybody. Trust me, like I'm coming from a place of love, but also from a place of like true, like a lens of sovereignty, and just thinking about like, I mean, when I started my business, I started by telling the truth about my postpartum depression and leaving an abusive domestic violence relationship, right? And that was the start. And I went on YouTube. I created some of my first videos that are still up now, which is crazy. I'm probably not going to rewatch them, but they're still up. I'm probably not going to take them down. Also, I can't access my old YouTube account, so there's that. But anyway, my first videos was me coming online and talking about leaving an abusive relationship. And then afterwards, it was how to become a happy, healthy single mom. That video is still up as well. I talked about why I left and how hard it was for me to leave, and how so many women are still shamed for staying in abusive relationships and, you know, feeling like it's their fault. And a lot of the work that I did after that, I mean, that was me telling the truth. Not because I was obligated to share, not because anyone needed to know, but because I'd been holding it in for so long and putting on a smile every single time I went to go and see my family, putting on a smile every single time I went to go and see my friends, where my friends would come and be like, I don't really know if you guys are together or not. Like, are you? I don't know. I remember connecting with this friend, like we're still friends now, but she was the girlfriend at the time of my ex, right? And so when him and I were together and on and off, she came to, you know, she hung out with us, and we remember connecting, or we connected later. And she told me, she was like, yeah, you know, her boyfriend at the time, which is my ex's friend, was like, I'm not really sure if they're together or not, so just don't say anything. And she was like, oh, okay. And she told me later, you know, like that was the environment that I was in, and that I, in a way, like perpetuated and created because of my behaviors and my narratives and my thoughts and the way that I like love myself and truly the lack thereof, you know? And so when I started my platform, it was about telling the truth about me and about what I was moving through and how I was moving myself through it, right? I was a single mom, and I was learning how to be a single mom. I mean, I was learning how to be a mom, period, right? I was 19 years old with a baby. I was 21. My 21st birthday was me taking care of my daughter, right? My 2-year-old at the time, at home alone. And at this time, all of my friends were going off to college. All of my friends were, you know, experiencing nightlife, and they were like having their fun. They were going out, and here I was, and I felt so resentful for such a long time, right? And I mean, obviously no mother wants to admit this, but then it's so common, like feeling resentful for your kids as well, which I think is just such a real thing, because like we're allowed to have emotions too as moms, right? It's just not because you just have a kid means that suddenly you are just filled with this love and this light. I mean, we get to be exhausted by our kids. We get to, you know, we get to experience different ranges of emotions around our children. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And so for me, my journey with that was learning like where this is coming from and what I decided to do about it and who I decided to be from it, and knowing like from here, where do I want to go with this? Right? Do I want to keep holding on to this resentment that I had towards myself, with just like manifested in a lot of self-loathing? I had really low self-esteem. I wasn't choosing the right partners. I have a history of self-harm. And there are so many things that I was just learning to shift in this time frame based on how I wanted my future to be, right? I was like, I don't want to be that mom that continues to hate herself, continues to resent her child, continues to, you know, live this life and perpetuate this life, these emotions, not being able to navigate my emotions, right? I wanted to be the mom that was able to move through this and come out the other side. But in the very beginning of that, in the very beginning of me starting this platform and even creating, my online space, my like little corner of the internet to begin with, was me being honest about like, hey, I'm struggling with postpartum. This is what comes up. You have suicidal ideation, right? You typically don't really have a strong connection to your child, or you feel resentment towards your child. And it can make you want to do this and that and all of these different things. And it was me like educating people, but not really. It was more so just me like coming on to share my experience and my truth, right? It was the thing that my entire life, coming from a Christian, Chinese, traditional Chinese home, in like keep everything, under the covers, like you like keep it under wraps, like don't share. And it was me like choosing to take a stance of like, I'm going to just tell the truth, right? Because secrets kill you. They do. They create disease, right? It's literally dis-ease. Like we have diseases and issues within the body because we're suppressing our emotions, right? And so when I came forward and told and expressed, I was like, oh my God, that felt so good. It was like a full body orgasm. I was like, oh my God, like, yes, finally, this is what I've been looking for. This is the freedom that I wanted to create. And it freed up so much of my energy. Like you cannot believe the amount of energy that gets siphoned. That's why I say all the time, the best business strategy is forgiveness. The best strategy is forgiveness. The best business strategy is forgiveness. What are you still holding on to? What are some things that you're still like up in arms about? What are some things that you're like dying on the hill about, right? How is that taking all of your energy, right? From the morning that you wake up and you're angry and you're frustrated and someone cuts you off and you're like, oh my God, F you, right? Like we see people living like this every single day. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're our family members, they're friends, they're loved ones, and you see them living in this reactive patterns of going through the motions and just like letting life sway them, right? This thing happens and then they're angry, and then another thing happens and then they're happy again. But then another thing happens and then, oh no, they're angry again, they're anxious, they're mad, right? And it's like you're walking on eggshells because someone isn't able to navigate their emotions. Someone is not able to reach the level of emotional intelligence to be able to navigate their own triggers, their own healing, right? The power that they have within themselves. So truth-telling and sovereignty, this really comes back to our own ability to alchemize. And alchemize just means that you're turning one thing into another. You are feeling this energy that is reactive or triggered, or maybe it's like just unwanted, or not unwanted, but uncomfortable emotion. And you get to take that and you get to transform it and transmute it into a magnetic, a beautiful, big energy that allows you to, bring in more of what you want, to be a more incredible, magnetic, radiant version of you, right? Energy is either transformed or it's transferred. And so you can take that energy and transform that energy, right? Like I call this, I call it a bunch of things depending on what I'm doing, but this is spell casting, right? This is true alchemy. This is the ability to shift what you want into what you desire or what you didn't want, right? Like sometimes there's energy projected onto me that I didn't ask for, that I didn't choose, right? Like I go online, I speak my truth, and someone says, you shouldn't be allowed to say that. How dare you, right? Cursing me out, saying the worst things to me. This is from a complete stranger. I've never had a conversation with them in my entire life. I had a reel go viral when I was in Hawaii that just showed me enjoying my time with my daughter and talking about how my business was running while I was on vacation. And this is no coincidence, but every single hateful comment and message I got were from men that couldn't, most of them were white men, that couldn't stand seeing a woman of color, a single woman of color that has no association. Like, I haven't had a partner in years. It's been about 5 years now since I've been partnered. So I've been single, I've been independent, running my own business, making my own money. I just moved into a house. Like, I've done everything essentially on my own, like single the past 5 years, and men couldn't stand it. They can't stand it. And it's the same thing when I'm on dating apps as well. Like, I'll match with someone and they'll find out what I do for a living. They'll find out how much money I make, right? And it'll sometimes be, and I'll watch it happen, an immediate unmatch, right? And so there's just so many, and I used to like create this a lot more in the past when I had a lot more to work through around my thoughts of like money and men. But now I also see it as a collective karmic experience that we have with money, right? Like, there are just people who project these things onto you, literally like projectile vomit, right? Where they see you doing something that you shouldn't be doing because you should be a lady and you should be at home and you should be cooking and taking care of the kids and relying on your husband and cooking for your husband, right? And all of these like very patriarchal themes, but I'm out here making my own money and I'm out here doing my own thing and I'm out here taking my daughter on vacation to Hawaii and they can't stand it. I cannot tell you how many, the worst things you can possibly say to a human being in my inbox every single day after I went viral. And now I've pinned that reel to the top of my reels because I am alchemizing that energy into making me more powerful, because nobody can dictate the energy and how it moves within me. I dictate that energy and you dictate that energy. And that's what I'm talking about in my 2-day workshop. That's what I'm talking about in my work, in my body of work, is that you dictate the energy. Nobody can give you this energy that is then going to deplete you for the rest of the day. Right? I was talking with one of my clients and we were messaging back and forth because she shared on her story the like fight or flight when, you know, your other parent, the co-parent is, you know, just like causing issues for no reason or just saying stupid shit, right? Like I've had to go through years of like hoping that my daughter's dad would just change and heal and like work on himself and all of the things, right? And then I started realizing like, okay, I am the one who, even though this creates like fight or flight, even though this drains my energy, you know, if I allow it to, I can still dictate that flow of energy, right? Like if it's unwanted. And yeah, I'm so excited you're going to be there, Erica. I saw your registration come in and I was like celebrating. But that happens a lot too with my mom. My mom will say something. She's like a very kind of typical Asian mom. She's got a lot to say. She's also a Virgo and she can be very critical, right? Like I love my mom and at the same time we butt heads a lot. So spending like an afternoon with her, you know, can sometimes be like, oh my gosh, like I really have to like call my energy back and I have to really like ground and root myself before going and spending time with her. Or, you know, if I'm having a conversation with my daughter's dad, like I'm like, I have to really be able to like move this energy. And it is just such like, and I used to wonder like, why would this have to happen? Like, why does this happen? Like, I don't understand. This is not helpful. This is ruining my day. And then I would start to realize like, oh, it's about the duality and holding all of it all at the same time. Because as your business grows, right? Like if you're growing and you're at like 6 figures and you want to grow to 500K, you want to grow to $1 million a year, right? Like your business is on track and continuing to expand. Like that's why we're in business, right? Is because we want to continue seeing that expansion over time. It's not that when you expand, things just get easier. It's not that when you expand, things just, you know, I will say there are some things that do get easier, but what is actually happening is you are growing, you are evolving to be able to hold more. I'll give you an example. in the very beginning of my business, I'm gonna take off my sweater because I'm like, now I'm like sweating and I'm like getting all excited. But in the beginning of my business, I would take on like anyone and everyone as a client. And I wasn't clear on how to filter out my clients for the people who were like best fit, right? Like the people who are like soulmate clients, who are really, really like the people I desire to work with, versus the people who are, again, this is not about good or bad people, just like in terms of energetic fits, right? And so I would just take on everyone. And then there would be some clients where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. We just had an amazing, it doesn't even feel like work, like an amazing session, right? And now all my clients are that way. And then there would be some clients and then it would just be like, okay, we're kind of going through the same things. They're asking like really surface level questions, right? Like, how do I expand my reach on Instagram, right? How do I do this with my hashtags? I'm like, well, I want to, like, can we go dive in way deeper? Let's talk about why this is coming up for you. Are you afraid that, if you don't reach a certain number of people, then your business isn't going to take off and you're not going to reach the people that you desire? And maybe you're afraid of rejection or abandonment. Like, let's talk about that, right? Rather than like, oh, here, let me just give you the answers. And there would be some clients that I'd be like, okay, and then sometimes they would turn around and they would say something to me, or they would give me this feedback. Or I remember one client, we were really not a good match from the beginning, and I should have listened to my body because immediately I felt anxiety from the very first call. And I felt like, just like this, I just felt the sensations in my body and my intuition that it just wasn't a good match, what she was looking for. But I was like, you know what? I really feel like I can help her and I really feel like I can do this. And then, I remember her asking for something when I was still doing like more like service provider work. And I remember she was asking for something in a really quick turnaround. And I was like, you can't really promise things like that when it comes to social media. Because I started as a social media coach. For those of you who don't know, I started as a social media coach. I also did social media management. I did like engagement services. And I offered, just a lot of different, I helped create content. I did it all. But I'm really glad I did that, because now I figured out like I will never do done for you services ever again. I love coaching. I love coaching the whole woman. I love coaching the whole human. I love like going really deep and talking about your relationships and who you are and like who you're evolving into. But anyway, she turned around and left this nasty message. She was like, I hired you for this. Are you going to be able to provide this or not? I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing the best I can over here. Like there's no promises, even when anyone who runs ads, anyone who does social media, unless you're paying for followers, which I was not doing for her. Organic growth, like that takes time. And she was looking for her account to grow essentially overnight. And I was like, hey, I'm doing the best I can. This is what I offer from the beginning. And she was like, I need these results. Can you deliver them or not? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to refund you everything that you've paid and I'm going to let you go. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I remember sending this like really, really respectful message in response. And I was like, I'm just releasing this. I'm just going to let you go. I was like, I'm sending you love. Like, I'm sorry this didn't work out. And she just read it and never responded. And I remember for days after, I was like, oh, I felt so heavy. I felt so drained. I was like, did I do something wrong? I was so I was in it so deep, because that was the first time. And this is probably why I remember it so vividly, but this is the first time someone, and it was like months into my business, I already had like, some amazing clients and testimonials and reviews and things like that. And this was the first time that someone was unhappy, and it was a beautiful lesson for me to really listen to my intuition on the clients that are a good fit versus the clients that aren't a good fit. And again, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't mean that there's like good or bad. It just means like right and wrong for me. Right? Like energetic match for me. And that's really important, because someone can sound great on paper. There can be quote unquote nothing wrong, but yet in your body, you feel this like anxiousness when you go to meet with them, right? This started to happen with my friend group. I talked about this on my most recent live when I became sober. I had a friend group that we would go out and we would drink and we would go clubbing. And for a while, I was like, I love this. This is amazing. This is exactly what I was looking for. This is what I was manifesting. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Because when I was 21, I had a 2-year-old. I couldn't go anywhere. All my friends had this nightlife experience. I never had it. So, a couple years later, I found this friend group and we would all go and drink and party exactly like I wanted because I missed out on that experience and I wanted to have that experience so bad. And then after a while, I was like, it went from like, yeah, to like, okay, I don't like this. Oh, I don't like the way alcohol feels in my body. Everyone else seems like they're having a really great time. Is there something wrong with me? And this was me really learning to listen to my intuition. It was the same thing with that partner that I had when I told him that I was, or attempting to come out as bisexual, and him completely having like a response that was so like damaging and hurtful. Everything was right on paper. His family loved me. My family loved him. Our families loved each other. My daughter had her birthday at his family's house. On paper, everything seemed great, but inside I was like, I can't. He was talking about getting married. He was talking about proposing. He was talking about moving in together. And every single time we talked about it, I was like, I can't. But then I would gaslight myself into like, no, but everything's fine. Everyone loves him. He's so great. He's blah, 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 all of these things. Like, and I just remember getting to a point where I was like, I can't do this. Right? And so our intuitive nudges are so important and so deeply impactful. And really what I wanted to share from these experiences was the very first time that this client sent this really angry message that like really, really triggered me. I had to take days to process it. I cried about it. I felt so heavy. My body literally felt like I couldn't take a full breath. I couldn't go a couple of minutes without thinking about it, like literally rethinking about it in my head, word for word, exactly what she said to me, and feeling so bad about it. And now in my business, I've had clients leave. I've had clients like create group chats and talk about me. I've had like people who have like said this and that. And I mean, there are always going to be people who, regardless of how you show up and what you do, they're gonna find something that they're either unhappy about. You can't please everybody, right? Especially if it is like bigger experiences where everyone gets access, right? Like there's just some things that are out of our control. And so as I've grown to $1 million in sales revenue, it hasn't been that these have lessened. In fact, like I will say I've gotten so much better at reading and picking up energy, picking the right clients. And now I have a filtering system. My clients fill out applications. We chat in the DMs. I feel into their energy, right? Every single one of my students inside the mastermind that's starting in May is a fuck yes soulmate client. Like every single time I think about them, like I'm so excited. I'm so lit up, right? Like I can't wait for the container to start. I'm like counting down the days. We just opened up the Slack channel. Like I'm so excited, right? Because I really am and all of us, we're only meant to do things that are life-giving, or else why would we do them? Like, what is the point, right? And so over time, I have learned to hold more within my own energetic capacity. Have I got better at filtering clients? Yes. Have I gotten better at like creating systems and really like fine tuning my messaging so I'm really only speaking to the most aligned clients? Yes. Have I, created better experiences through my services and released services that no longer align to me and never aligned to me in the first place? Of course, I'm not a social media coach anymore. I don't do social media done for you engagement services. Every offer I put out, I'm super aligned to, right? And so yes. And at the same time, regardless of who you are, like there are people who hate Tony Robbins, right? The person that you look up to the most, like your favorite mentor, entrepreneur, guru, they probably have a Reddit thread about them, bashing them, right? And it's like, they have to be able to hold that and show up to their group call that day, show up with their family that day, right? And I've had people email me and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is why, and I don't like this and that's, and now I don't take days and days and days to process it. I sit with it. I recognize, like, is this coming from like a random troll on the internet who just wants to say something mean on one of my videos? Or is this feedback that I want to integrate in some way to make my experiences an even better experience for future clients, right? And then where is the line in which, like, okay, this is someone's feedback, but actually this doesn't align to me. So I am going to take it, but I'm not going to implement it because this is actually what it's for, right? I have, I have friends and peers I know in different spaces where they have created different offers, and there are people who will jump into those offers and be like, well, I don't like this. I think you should change this because of this and this reason, right? And it's like, if we take in all of that feedback all of the time from every single person, then where is the co-creating with the spirit of your business? Where is the co-creating with your magic? And this is what I talk about when I say most of my clients aren't afraid of failure. They're afraid of being so successful that a bunch of clients leave all at once. They're afraid of being so successful that they have a Reddit thread bashing them. They're afraid of being so successful that their friends and family treat them different. They're afraid of being so successful that a group of their clients go and create a group chat and talk about them behind their back. And then one person, delivers everything they said all at once to you, which happened to me. And you just sit there and at first it's like, oh my God, this feels like dying. This feels like, my heart and soul being poured in. And you know what I wish, this is what my mentor says when she's moved through this many times, is I hope, like, at some point, like, because this is what happens, right? Like, just through karmic cycles and this is what's happened to her, is like some of her clients who've gone and said those things and done those things, they come back and they're like, hey, the same thing happened to me. I'm so sorry for what I said. The exact same thing happened to me with my clients, and I know what it feels like to pour your heart and soul into a program, and sometimes people just aren't aligned to it, and I'm so sorry for the things I said and the way I acted when I was still, not working on myself. And I really hope that, like, those people, because, like, I mean, it happens, right? And for me, it hasn't happened in quite some time, but you just learn to figure out who you are through that process. Right? Like, how did I get over that? I learned who I was. I decided who I was going to be as a leader, right? Like the two people who had something to say specifically, I got on calls. I was like, everything you want to share, just get it out. I'm not here as your coach. I am here to be a sounding board and hold space for you. And even months later, she came back and said, Tiffany, that is one of the most powerful examples of leadership I have ever seen. Thank you. Right? And when I hit my $1 million, she was like, Tiffany, I know that we had like that little bump at the beginning of our mentorship relationship, but just seeing the way that you carried yourself through it, and I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. Like, I love watching you thrive, and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. And not everyone is going to have that same experience and navigation. It's gonna look different from time to time, right? Especially if you're dealing with a huge volume of clients. But over time, you just learn to hold more deeper, right? You just get to hold more and not let every single thing throw you off your path. Where in the beginning, that one comment would have set me off for a whole week, right? You won't hear from me. I would go into hibernation. Great, I'll see you next summer, right? Like, bye, sayonara. But now it's like, that happens in the morning. I have a coaching call at 2 p.m. I'm showing up. I'm taking the energy. I'm letting it fuel me, right? I'm going to process my emotions. I'm going to sit with it, but I'm going to bring that and transmute it into my work. Right? Because as you grow, these things are just going to happen more and more and more. And you are going to have to learn to hold more and more and more. And sometimes the reasons why I feel like my students or Anybody, myself included, the reason that we are stagnant if we're being in a certain place in our business for a while, it's because we're like digging a little hole. We're like, I'm comfy here. Like, this feels good. I don't want to move. It's like when it's time to get out of the hot tub and you're like, no, but this feels so good, right? Because you're so like, there's a version of you that you're going to have to kill, that is going to have to die and be rebirthed into this next version, this next iteration of you. And that is going to cost you to be a whole new version of yourself. And that's scary. That is scary. Every single thing that I have feared happening has happened, right? Clients asking for refunds, clients leaving, clients being disappointed, like all the things. And then me feeling like, oh, now I'm in the savior complex. I have to save everyone. Let me go out of my way and make sure everyone has a great experience. Let me reach out to all these people and overextend myself, right? And then I realize, but by actually showing up as a sovereign leader and having boundaries, having energetic boundaries, right? Where I'm not available 24/7, where I'm not coaching every single thing that comes up, right? Like, I have created a space where my clients come and get what they need. My clients are self-led. I'm not their mom holding their hand through every single step. I give them the tools. I create better tools. I create a better experience so that they come and get what they came for, right? And it is through navigating these situations with ease and calming your nervous system and regulating your nervous system so that it isn't like this shock and then, oh my God, I got to go away for a week. It's like, okay, all right, this is what's happening. Here's how we navigate it. Here's how we deal with it. And then you set up specific boundaries. Like, I'm not really checking my DMs throughout the day. I don't check my inboxes. Like, I check my DMs more than I check my email, but I have handed off my email to my team, right? So I'm not seeing like all the communication that comes. Oh, someone can't get into Kajabi. Okay, they were able to access Slack, but maybe there's no info there. That like, it completely takes me out of my energy to have to go and deal with a login issue. Right? So I have an incredible online business manager that does that for me. I am not available for that. I need to be in my visionary dreamer space, right? That is what allows this business to run. Because if I am the CEO and I'm also like the online technician and the chat support, and I'm also doing like my finances, God forbid, like nobody ever put me in charge of numbers. I have a CFO that does that. I have an online business manager. I now have a graphic designer on the team. We're like, I have a web designer as well. Like, there are things that I just don't want to siphon my energy towards, right? And that I don't, like if there's like, a payment, like someone needs to change their card, right? I don't want to see, notification came in while I'm on a coaching call, while I'm in my high energy, someone's payment failed, right? And then it's just like, okay, like I have to be able to hold all that. And then so learning to like create boundaries where I can support my magnetism, right? And that is one of the most beautiful lessons, is you learning how to source your own energy, learning to be in your own magnetism. So it's not about, hoping that these things never happen. It's knowing that when they happen, because they will, any entrepreneur that has gone through hell and back, who has gone through cycles and upgrades in their business, they have gone through clients leaving. They have gone through people in their family talking behind their back. Like, I have an entire extended family. Like, as soon as I hit my million, one of the relatives texted another one, sent a screenshot. Is this really true? Is she really making that much money? Why is she saying these? It's like, at a certain point, you really have to ask yourself, and my mentor always says, like, when someone asks me, who are you? She's like, I love that question. Like, who do you think you are? Like, let me tell you who I am, and through all of these experiences, you discover who you are, right? You discover who you came here to be, right? Hi. Like, you discover who you are when everything comes crumbling down, right? And my biggest 10Xs in my identity, in the shifts in who I've become is when I've hit rock bottom, right? When I left my abusive, violent relationship, when I became a single mom and my family kicked me out of the house when they found out I was pregnant, right? When the entire church community I'd grown up with, friends, sleepovers, youth leaders I saw 3 times a week, still haven't said a word to me since that day. Stop talking to me. Every single time I have discovered who I am and who I desire to be moving forward, right? So it's like, I mean, I don't think that it's about suppressing the reaction. I think it's about letting the reaction come through, but then not letting it dictate who you are. And then reminding yourself who the fuck you are. That is what it's about. It's about feeling the emotions and moving through the emotions and the energy, whether that is like a primal scream, whether that's like shaking and banging your fists on the floor. I have had moments where life has literally brought me to my knees on the ground, sobbing, like crying like a baby, right? Like I've had those moments, and those are the moments where I've discovered off the back of that, who am I now? What now? Who am I now? Now what? Okay, this happened, you process it, you scream about it, you move it through your body, now what? Because I can sure as hell tell you I would not be sitting here with $1 million business and a happy, beautiful relationship with my daughter who's healthy, who never has to be dragged through. Every 6 months, I would recertify for food stamps. Every couple months, I would be in the WIC office getting food checks for yogurt and milk and cheese and peanut butter. And that is what we would live off of. I would wonder whether I would pay my utility bill or get my daughter more diapers. Like those were the decisions and the person that I was when I was in that state. And then I decided, okay, I would still be that person now if I hadn't done this work. I would still be that person now if I didn't allow myself to wonder, who will I be off the back of this? Who will I become? Who do I step into now? Now that I know this, now that this is coming up for me, what is here for me? What is being taught to me? And if I kept going, because I was in this for a long time, trust me, if you knew me back then, it was victim mindset, this and that, all the way around, right? It was like pity parties every single morning, afternoon, and evening, right? I was the victim. Everything was happening to me. Life had given up on me. Like everything was just like scarcity mindset, victim mentality. You know, everything is just like happening to bring me down. Until I got to a certain point and I was like, why am I letting it have so much power over me? And that is what influenced my very first YouTube channel video and me coming to create this platform and telling the truth, which is the title of this live, is Truth Telling to Create a 10X. I came on and I started talking about postpartum depression. I started talking about what I was moving through as a mom, dealing with these emotions, dealing with not feeling connected to her kid, dealing with leaving an abusive relationship, dealing with, you know, being excluded from family, being kicked out of the house, living on my own since I was 18, right? Having to take care of my daughter in this dingy little bedroom with these creaky stairs that felt like they were going to fall apart every single time I walked up them. Like, this is who I was, and here's how I'm moving through it, right? And I started to go from this is happening to me to this is happening for me. If it's possible that this could be happening for me, what would I do with it, right? And is there a way that I'm somehow perpetuating, attracting this, right? Not from a place of blame or shame, but from a place of curiosity, right? Having is evidence of wanting. So if that is true, how could I subconsciously want this? I remember the first time I heard that, I was so offended. I was like, what do you mean? They don't understand. This is crazy. This manifestation stuff, this mindset stuff, they're crazy. This is literally delusional, right? Like, what do they mean? They don't understand. They haven't been through what I've been through, right? Like, I was like, this is some like white people shit. This is like some white privilege shit, right? And then I was like, oh, it's always us. It's always me. This is just a reflection of what I'm creating for my own internal state, right? And I just started to wonder, like, could it be true? Could it be true that I am possibly attracting this reality based on my thoughts and my narrative and my energy and what I'm saying yes to and the decisions I'm making? Oh, it was a real humble moment for me, you know? And I was like, okay, all right, like maybe there is some truth to this. And I started just being open. I started being curious. And I started just like opening the door a little bit. Like, is there something? Okay, all right, this makes sense. Okay, what about over here? Okay, what about over there? What about this area of my life? Well, what about this? And I remember getting to like all those areas, especially when I started working through my money stuff. Because mind you, I was on food stamps. My bank account was in the negatives, right? Like I didn't have a concept of making money or that I was even worthy of making money. And so when I started doing that work, everything else, I mean, everything's interconnected. How you do one thing is how you do everything. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? And so this area impacted this area and that area impacted this area. And then all of a sudden, all these areas of my life became so intertwined, which is why I talk about when I'm mentoring my students in my mastermind, in my foundational course, Business Activation Academy, I am always coaching the whole person. This is not just about one facet of them as an entrepreneur. This is about who you are as the whole human. Because how we do one thing is how we do everything. And if that is true, then the way that we show up in one area of life, it impacts the other, and it impacts the other, and it impacts the other, and it impacts the other. And it allows us to come from the space where we realize at the end of the day, we dictate the flow of energy and everything comes from our internal state of mind. And if we can create an internal state of mind that is expansive, that expands to hold more, right? It doesn't mean hoping that everything is going to be great from morning to night. It means no matter what happens, no matter what is said to me, no matter what is happening externally, I am creating this level of peace. I know how to come back to myself. I know who I am in those moments, even in those moments, right? And the reason we have rock bottom, bring me to my knees moment is so we can figure out who we are. And that gets to come out next time something like that comes through, that we know who we are. We know how to show up. We know how to navigate this, right? And this is why, like, I don't teach like content prompts and messaging, plug and play templates, is because it is just about you showing up in your truth. What is your truth? What feels alive for you today? What is something you are walking yourself through actively in this moment? Right? And when you do that, it isn't because you're obligated to share. It's because you share a piece of your heart when you do. And that is what people experience and receive. Right? And that is how you call in high ticket clients. This is how you call in those soulmate people who are like, oh, you're my person. It's not because I came on here and I told you, hey, everyone, this is my number one strategy and it's from A to B and you just do this and then, all right, bye. I'm telling you stories about who I am and my heart and what I've moved through and some of the hardest things that have happened to me that I don't wish upon anybody and how I moved myself through that. Right? So that you can feel my heart and then you can see if there's a match. And if there is, then you can reach out and say, hey, I want to explore working together. I want to explore what it would be like to join your world. What are your offerings? What does this look like? Here's what I want to create. Can you help me with this? Right? And then because I now have the initiation, because now I have the consent, then we can start this relationship and I can go, hi, where have you been my whole life? Like, tell me about you and tell me about your business and let's work together and let's dive deeper together, right? And then we do life together. Because truly it is about paying to be in the energy. Like, that's not the only thing, right? But when I invest in mentors, like a big part of it is like, yeah, I'm investing to be in that energy of someone who thinks on such a high level and is able to bounce back on such a high level and be in a room of people who are also attracted to that. How could I not expand? How could I not have a 10x? How could I not have this experience that blows me away, right? Because you are the sum, you are the average of the 6-7 people that you hang out with. Back when I was a single mom, I was surrounded by other young single moms who love them, send them so much love. This isn't about them. It's just about the people that I chose to keep around me that we all talked about, how we hated being broke and how we hated our lives and how this was so hard and how nobody understood. And it was like, I loved it because it was such this like camaraderie of like, other people get me, cool. But if I continue to stay there, I would still be there, still complaining. I would still be complaining about money. I would still be complaining about my life. I would probably still be in an on and off abusive relationship. I would still be in that exact same environment. But it wasn't until I stepped out of that and I realized there are other spaces, because now I'm growing and I'm ascending and I'm expanding, I'm evolving. I want to be around people who are also matching that. And before I even made $1 in my business, I invested in mentorship. I invested the last of my savings, which really was not much. And I invested in a business coach. And ever since then, I have been with mentors. I have now, last little bit, have been in high-level masterminds, which I think is where I'm going to continue to see myself in moving forward. And it has taught me that being around the people who are having these conversations, having a seat at the table with these people who are having these conversations where we are not gossiping. We are not talking about money in a hateful scarcity way. We are not throwing pity parties for ourselves. We are processing our emotions. There is nervous system regulation. There is healing and there's love and there is expansion. And there are these conversations that allow you to be a better human, that allow you to step into the evolution of yourself. And that is what I invest in. That is what I invest over multi-5 figures in for an entire year mastermind to be in, right? It's not because I'm raising my hand every single call and I'm I'm asking all these questions. Sometimes it is just soaking up the energy and realizing like, I'm so grateful to be here, and expanding is part of that. And so that's really what I want to leave you all with today. This has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Anyone who's watching the replay afterwards, I'll post this on my feed. Just so much gratitude and thank you. One last reminder, Magic Mind is starting May 7th. So we have a couple of last minute spots available if you want to join us before we get started. This is the Energetics Business Mastermind for witches and healers and magicians. If you are looking to grow into multi-6 figures this year and you're ready to expand your offers, expand your fulfillment and your alignment and who you are from the inside out, your truest self. This is a year-long container and you get access to every single live program that I run, including my foundational course, which is going to turn into my all access pass. You get access to all of it, including 3 live calls a month with me and live in-person events. So if that's something that you're excited for, if that's something that's like, yes, I desire sisterhood, I desire training, I desire to be in that close proximity with you, then Magic Mind is the place to be. You can apply through the link in my bio. You can also just send me a message and we can talk and see if you're a good fit for this container. And yeah, I can't wait. Yes, Carmela. Oh my gosh. We are starting so soon. So, all right. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Mwah. I will catch you on the next live and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye. so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at tiffanychung.co. I truly appreciate interacting with every one of you. Catch you all on the next one.